against Muslims. Let's take a stand here against hatred.
I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here. The remaining Jews in the world are clinging to their existence. And when that group comes under attack, humanity has a special responsibility to...
Y'all, Van Jones just keeps embarrassing himself, and it's honestly pathetic at this point. So he decided to criticize Zohran Mamdani and his reforms, saying his rent reform plan wouldn't work and that his victory speech was too strong. And he even demanded Zohran apologize for his rhetoric because, quote, people are afraid, end quote, of him. And that's coming from the same man who said this.
If you are a young person, you open up your phone and all you see is dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, right. Diddy, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby. Like, that's basically your whole feed.
So Van Jones is out here cracking jokes about G-side to appease his masters, but he thinks Mamdani's rhetoric is too strong. And the craziest part is that those old enough to remember will know that Van Jones used to identify as a black revolutionary and a progressive. He acted as a legal observer in the Rodney King case. He was active in anti-Iraq war demonstrations, and he advocated for the working class. He was even a 9/11 truther, and he signed a letter calling on the U.S. government to investigate 9/11 as a possible, quote, inside job, end quote. And now Van Jones has turned into everything he used to criticize. He's now out here doing things like this and defending billionaires and criminals. But let's break down exactly what Van Jones said about Zohran Mamdani and why he says his reforms are a scam. So as you all probably know by now, Mamdani won the NYC mayoral race and became the first Muslim and democratic socialist to do it. That alone is historic. But it's not just about the milestone, it's about what he ran on. Mamdani's campaign was all about the real issues people are dealing with. Rents that keep going up, lack of affordable housing, and economic inequality.
But when it comes to the first 100 days of your administration, what's something that you think you're going to be able to do to make life more affordable for New Yorkers?
And the first thing is putting together my rent guidelines board, which is a board that determines the rent increase or lack thereof for the more than 2 million New Yorkers who live in rent-stabilized housing. And this current mayor has taken those 9 appointees that he has, and he has used it to increase the rent every single year that he's been the mayor. This is a key part because for New Yorkers, the #1 crisis of affordability is that of housing. They feel it every single day.
Mamdani promised to fight for working class communities, expand public housing, and push back on the city's wealthiest landlords. Basically, he's challenging a system that's been stacked against everyday people for years. So when he gave his victory speech on November 5th, it made sense that it had energy and fire. He was speaking for the people who've been ignored for far too long.
People of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name.
And while most New Yorkers are celebrating, here comes Van Jones criticizing Mamdani's tone, calling it too sharp and saying he should have been more calm and warming.
But I think he missed an opportunity. I think the Mamdani that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think that Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more people into the tent. I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people was not on stage tonight, and there was some other voice on stage.
Now, first of all, Van Jones criticizing someone for character switching is hilarious because Jones pulled the biggest switch up in recent history. Also, it sounds like Van Jones is mad that Zohran didn't give a shout out to the billionaire class because that's who signs Jones' checks now. The same guy who used to call himself a black fighter for the working class just received a $100 million gift from none other than Jeff Bezos. And you know that kind of money comes with some serious strings attached.
All right. After returning from space, the world's wealthiest man, Jeff Bezos, made a big announcement. He says that he would be awarding Van Jones and Chef Jose Andres with $100 million.
And you know what else is funny about Van Jones lecturing Mamdani on his tone? Last time I saw Van Jones, he was forcing himself to cry and apologizing to you-know-who on behalf of the black community. The nerve.
Van Jones is out here. He went to some convention, I guess, and he felt the need that he needed to speak for the black community as a whole, because he represents black America, I guess, in his mind. That he wanted to apologize on the behalf of our silence.
Then the haters say whatever they want to. And it's time for us to tell the truth. The reason this country is a democracy at all is because black and Jewish people have loved each other and helped each other and supported each other and stood up for each other.
Be happy to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. This is vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered.
I can't, y'all. Van Jones was out there literally wiping invisible tears. It's giving Erica Kirk. And this is the man who now has the audacity to criticize Mamdani for doing too much. The good news is that the internet understood the assignment, and Van Jones is now getting dragged left, right, and center over his comments about Mamdani. Someone said, if Van Jones don't shut the F up, he always tap dancing for Trump, but got the nerve to talk about Mamdani. He wasn't warm enough? What is he, an apple pie? Another person wrote, Van just mad Zohran had no Israeli flag behind him, just American flag and state, county, and city flags. And someone else added, Van took that $100 million and he's been a slave since. And what's crazy is that Van Jones calling Mamdani's victory speech sharp is nothing more than tone policing. It's the same old respectability trap that tells black people they can't fully show up without worrying about how white people will perceive them. And now Van Jones is doing the same thing to Mamdani. But you want to see something even crazier? So Van Jones is now mad Mamdani's tone is too sharp. But check out Van Jones and his tone back when he was still cosplaying as a black revolutionary.
Now, if students can do that in 1960, if students can do that in 1970, if students can do that in 1985 and 86, in 1993, when we have the United States government building a death camp, a concentration camp for black people who have done nothing wrong but get sick and want justice. That's all they've done wrong. If we can't close that death camp, if this generation cannot prevent another Japanese American internment in our lifetime, we should all get haircuts and go get regular jobs and give it up.
Not very calm and warm, is it? Guess Van Jones got that haircut and the regular job he spoke of. But y'all, Van Jones just can't seem to take a hint. And he just came from Mamdani again, trying to scare New Yorkers about Mamdani's plan for affordable housing. And according to Jones, this plan is nothing but a scam. But if Van Jones actually studied Mamdani's plan, he would know it's detailed, realistic, and directly targets the housing crisis. His proposals are concrete, targeted solutions to a housing crisis that's been decades in the making. Here's what he's actually pushing. First off, rent rollbacks for long-term tenants. Families who've lived in their apartments for years are being priced out, and Mamdani wants to roll back excessive rent hikes that landlords have imposed, giving renters real breathing room. Currently, New York tenants can be evicted with minimal cause, and enforcement of housing laws is weak. And Mamdani's plan is to strengthen tenants' rights, making sure landlords can't exploit loopholes to displace people. And then beyond beyond protecting existing renters, Mamdani also wants to build and maintain more public housing and offer secure, affordable options for low and moderate income families.
So I'd first say there's rent control, which is a very small minority.
Yeah.
The vast majority of what we're talking about is rent stabilization. Rent stabilization means there's a limit on how much your rent can increase every year. It's not what your rent is, it's what the increase will be. And it's all determined by a board called the Rent Guidelines Board, composed of 9 people that the mayor appoints.
You can appoint them?
Yes. Did a study. That same board, under Eric Adams, did a study. It found that landlord profits had increased 12% of those units in the same year that the median household income of tenants of those units was $60,000. And with that information, they decided, let's hike the rent again. So it actually doesn't have to do with the data.
Got it.
But the point that you're making is right, which is that we have to have a housing policy for all 8.5 million people. That's why you couple a rent freeze with construction of 200,000 truly affordable homes. The reason I say truly is because, like, I represent Steinway in Astoria, right? I'll call a constituent, I'll say, there's a new affordable housing development coming up. Do you want to apply? They'll say, how much do I have to make? I say $140,000. They hang up the phone.
Yeah, it's affordable housing.
Because how are they going to afford that, right?
Yeah.
And so my point is thinking about affordability more with the median household income in New York City, which is $70,000 for a family of 4.
Finally, Mamdani's plan also includes targeting corporate landlords. Billion-dollar real estate companies have been driving up rents and flipping apartments out of reach for working families. And Mamdani's plan directly challenges these landlords, making them accountable to the communities they profit from.
Point, there are about 24,000 units today, at the very least, that are being what's called warehoused, kept off the market. Now, the reason I say the very least is that's a number that comes from landlords self-reporting. Obviously, if they're self-reporting, there's an incentive to not report them all. So one of the things that I would do as the next mayor is change the reporting requirements so that we actually know what's the scale of warehousing, what's the reason they're being kept off the market, and what's the actual cost to get them back on the market. Because so much of the conversation around housing, it's divorced from fact. You're just told these anecdotes and stories, and you have no actual sense of how much would it cost to bring this unit back online? Because we have a vacancy rate of close to 1%. I mean, it's a crisis in this city. We need to make sure every single unit of housing is being used. And like you said, there are too many New Yorkers who can tell you the exact units in their apartment building that are currently being left vacant, and they don't know why, and they know it's been for years.
So for Van Jones to dismiss Mamdani's plan as a scam or unrealistic ignores the actual mechanics of the plan. Mamdani isn't fantasizing. He's addressing a crisis with policy tools that have worked in other cities around the world. Bottom line, the rent reform isn't a scam. Van Jones is just lashing out because now that he's a puppet of the billionaire class, his job is to try and sabotage anyone who's actually fighting for working people in a way that challenges the existing power structures. So at this point, it's hard to tell who the real Van Jones even is. Over the years, he's built a brand as a progressive voice, talking about justice and reform, calling himself an anti-war and anti-establishment activist. But now, he's literally become a mouthpiece of the elite and a liberal warmonger.
Here's the issue. This is the issue. There are 1.3 billion Chinese people in the world. God bless them. There are 1.4 billion Indians in the world. God bless them. There are 1.3 billion Africans in the world. God bless us. There are 1.4 billion Catholics. I'm a Protestant. 1.4 billion Catholics in the world. There are 2 billion Muslims. There's only 15 million Jews left in the whole world. Only 15 million left. Their numbers would have been massively bigger if it weren't for the Holocaust and the centuries of violence against them before. And you have 15 million left, and half of them live in Israel, and that's where half of the world, the remaining Jews in the world, are clinging to their existence. And when that group comes under attack, humanity has a special responsibility to defend them. You know, I've had people, pull money out of things I'm a part of, but who cares? Is it nothing compared to what those kids went through at the Nova Festival. Nothing compared to what the people went through at the kibbutz. You gotta remember, I'm a progressive.
Yeah.
So Hamas attacked my people.
Yeah.
Those are my people.
Exactly.
On the kibbutz, those are liberals. Those are my people.
The most liberal in the country.
Those are my people. I'm a progressive. So Hamas pushes through with bulldozers and butchers my people. Progressive, liberal, peace-loving, social justice people were murdered and butchered. And then you have these idiots over here talking about, oh, these were Nazi, Zionist colonizers, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, guys, you don't know anything about anything. You sound like idiots. And the only reason that you can get away with it is because there's just not that many Jewish people to fight back.
That's exactly right.
25 years ago, Van Jones would talk on anti-war stages with Angela Davis and the likes. And now he's just another sellout, bought and controlled by the elites who don't even consider him an equal. Well, now I want to hear your thoughts on all this. How do you feel about Van Jones attacking Mamdani over his tone and housing plan? Was Van Jones fake then when he called himself a revolutionary, or is he fake now? Or has he always been nothing more than a shameless opportunist? Leave all your thoughts in the comments and don't miss out on this next story.